Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
China's failed attempt to buy football.
China will win the World Cup by 2050. That is what President Xi Jinping famously declared in a memo published by the Chinese Football Association on April the 11th, 2016. China will host the World Cup. China will build 70,000 football pitches nationwide. China will build 50,000 football playing schools by 2025. Those were the other things declared in that famous memo by President Xi. You see, President
what
Xi's
team?
grand plan.
Jersey? Wait, what? Whose jersey he has in the background?
I don't know. I don't know.
Envisioned China becoming a soccer superpower by mid-century. He made football a national priority as he looked to shake off China's patchy results on and off the pitch in recent decades. The vision spurred one of the wildest spending sprees in recent football history, with very expensive player
Yeah, not their sport.
transfers and very expensive club acquisitions off the pitch too. However, shortly after, in one of the most dramatic political U-turns ever, things started crashing down, causing national turmoil in China, and some of those effects being felt here in Europe and the UK today. I'm Jordan, and I'm on a mission to make passionate sports fans like you just 1% more informed. Today is a cautionary tale about sports and politics, wrapped in a beautiful long play wrapper, full of big spending and football business. So without further ado, we're going to tell the story of China trying to buy football. And we're going to start with all those players that famously went to go and play in China in those famous few years. And we're going to start with him, and him. Yes, Oscar Hulk and Ramirez were just three of the many transfers that happened to China at that time. They joined Shanghai SIPG, Shanghai again, and Jiangsu Suning respectively. On top of that though were several other players, including Jackson Martinez, Axel Witsel, Cedric Bakambu, Yannick Carrasco, Alexandra Pato, Stefan Ambia, Marouane Fellaini, Paulinho, Alex Teixeira, Ezekiel Lavezzi, Gervinho, Demba Ba, and Marco Arnautovic. All of them left their clubs and went to go and apply their trade in China. It was a wild influx of talent, and there were two main attractions for them doing so. The first is being a part of this story. President Xi's plan was a big one, and it was exciting at the time. The second, of course, was the money. Their transfer fees were large, but the wages were crazy in some cases too. One person I didn't name in that list was Carlos Tevez. He went to play in China too and
Are you
signed
familiar with any of these players?
for Shanghai Shenhua in 2016. Despite only being there for 7 months, he was reportedly paid £615,000 a week for doing so. If you've been a follower of my channel, you know I've spoken about Carlos Tevez's wages before. That man knows how to get to a bag. But that was just the money spent in China. President Xi's vision inspired a lot of money to be spent outside of China too. And a lot of you watching are supporting teams who are feeling the effects of this right now. This man is Wan Jianlin, a Chinese billionaire. He kicked things off by buying a 20% stake in Atletico Madrid for 45 million euros in 2015. He made his investment through the Wonder Group.
So it's not American investors, it's Asian investors.
I see Chinese, yeah, but Atletico Madrid not worth much then if for 20% for what he said. Yeah, 20% for 45 million. That's not a lot of money. Well, I mean,
Really?
obviously it's but when you compare to like American NBA clubs or football, these are
I
in the
don't know.
billions, like worth like 6-7 billions a club. This is not a lot of money.
Group, a massive Chinese company. And some of you may know, Atletico's stadium became the Wanda Metropolitano a few years later. Not long after, a Chinese consortium, CMC, paid 400 million euros for a 13% stake in City
Okay, now we're talking. Okay,
Football Group, Manchester City's parent company. Yes, the City Football Group, led by the Abu Dhabi States.
so what do they own? Manchester City, New York City Football Club, 80%. Can't see what that is. Okay, I don't know, I
Were
can't see.
minority controlled by China too in its initial stages. In Italy, electronics retailer Sunning Holdings paid 270 million euros for a controlling stake in Inter Milan. We're going to get back to them later. But just across the road, also in Milan, the biggest deal came from AC Milan.
Interesting. I thought Inter Milan would be worth more too, huh?
Silvio Berlusconi sold his stake in AC
Why?
Milan
It's a big team. It's a very popular team.
to a Chinese investment company for 740 million euros. To date, that is the biggest Chinese investment in European football, but just showed you the influx of money in European football was crazy at the time. Here in the UK, Aston Villa, Wolves, Reading, and West Brom all saw investment from Chinese companies. Remember President Xi's famous memo? It was published in April of 2016. By mid-2017, 20 European clubs had seen Chinese investment. Reuters tallied that Chinese investment in European football had surpassed $3 billion in value. The Chinese exposure to European football was fast and intentional, and the footprint was starting to take shape. Before we continue, just a word from me, my platform has grown massively in the past few weeks. Thank you to anyone who has liked, watched, or commented
So
on
how
any
do you
video.
get a game to come to your country? You have to.
Well, so they're not just because they invest the money doesn't mean that
Yeah.
people are gonna go play in China. They just, it's like LeBron owns part of Liverpool, I believe. Doesn't mean Liverpool's coming to America. It's just they invest. The business just operates as a business. and the profits go to Chinese companies if there's any profits,
Mm.
you know. I don't find any of this problematic just yet. I don't know why this is a problem where the money is coming from. Maybe we'll get to that because it's a failed attempt, so something didn't work out. I don't know. Let's see.
that I've ever made. Some of the messages that you guys send me are so humbling and just overwhelming to read. I really appreciate it when you do that. But it always surprises me how many people aren't subscribed. If you're one of those people who are watching but aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button just there. It means the world to me when you do that. Now, I'm going to get back to this story because, oh, amazing. In late 2017, Chinese authorities pumped the brakes on what they deemed to be an overheated, risky football investment bubble. This is despite the rhetoric President Xi was giving not that long before. In fact, President Xi proclaimed to be a big fan of football. In 2015, he visited the UK and took a trip to Manchester on his journey. He took a famous picture with Sergio Kun Aguero and at the time, Prime Minister David Cameron. I'm telling you, that picture is up there in the random picture folklore alongside Trey Songz and Phil Mitchell. Like, what on earth was going on there? But in 2017, things were going backwards. In July of that year, Chinese
guy.
state-controlled media aired a 25-minute feature criticizing the debt-fueled purchases of European football clubs by some of the famous Chinese companies and Chinese entrepreneurs. They used Sunning's Inter Milan purchase as a highlight of their example. The famous club has lost money for 5 straight years and has totaled losses of 275 million euros, the narrator said. What is the purpose of acquisitions like these? Can you imagine the British government airing a show on the BBC saying, Man United have been losing money and underperforming for several years. So Jim Ratcliffe, why did you buy the club? Oh, and Jim, I see the vision, bro. Carry on doing what you're doing. Then, 1 month later, in August of that year, China's State Council issued guidelines categorizing overseas investments in real estate and football clubs as restricted. Banks were reportedly stopped from providing credit for some of these individuals and companies.
That's interesting. I guess that's why the attempt is failed. I mean, the fact that the clubs lose money, kind of, you know, we've seen it before in the other reactions where we saw it with the how Americans are trying to buy the UK clubs. So I knew that the clubs might not necessarily be profitable. I mean, Inter Milan seems like or AC Milan, one of them, very unprofitable. But if that's just so interesting, if that's how the people decide to spend their money to lose money, who are you to tell them to, oh no, don't lose this money?
I mean,
That's China for you, I guess.
I wonder because it looked a little shady.
I mean,
What is the alternative motive?
are you just a passionate football fan? Like you're just a fan. You don't care about money. You have so much money you can burn it, but you're really passionate.
And it's not tax write-off. It's like cleaning money.
Yeah, like whatever. I don't care. I don't care about this money. I'm really passionate. I want this team to win. I love this team. Oh, that's China. You can't do that.
Companies investing overseas in 2017 too. This was a dramatic shift from just 2 years ago when cheap credit was given to anyone who wanted it. And then the big blow was the salary cap. The Chinese FA introduced a steep 100% luxury tax on foreign transfers over a certain value. If a club made a transfer for a player for more than 45 million Chinese yuan, which was around $6 or $7 million at the time, they had to pay a 100% tax to a youth development fund. So if a player was worth £10 million and a Chinese club were interested in buying that player, they would have to pay another £10 million to fund youth football development back home in China, effectively making that player £20 million. This doubled the cost of big transfers, and as you can imagine, they stopped immediately. The aftermath. It was catastrophic, my word. If you made it this far, then thank you. China is a cautionary tale, thinking that football is something that can be bought and can change the fortunes of your state. The crazy thing is, history is repeating itself right now in the Middle East, and I'm here to tell you all about it. I am building a series on Saudi Arabia's impact on global sport. It's episodic, and it's 1 episode per sport. Football, boxing, golf, Formula One, esports, and anything else that Saudi Arabia has dabbled in. I'm going to release it in a few months' time. So if you want early access, click the
So
link
what is the
in the description. And
motivations for most of these people? They want to make money, or is it just hobby?
Hobby, passion. I think for Saudis also, they have so much money to burn. They just buy these clubs because, you know, why not? They enjoy it.
Wow.
enter your email address in the box. I'm excited. There's so much in there. It's some of the best content.
Imagine you're so rich, you just buy shit to lose money because you like it. Like you don't care. And not little money. You're losing like hundreds of millions of dollars. You're like, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. I like it.
Created. We're going to get back to the aftermath of the Chinese U-turn in just a second. Before that,
But it kind of makes you question, why are these football clubs so unprofitable? Like, something has to change to make them profitable, because then how are they going to operate? Who's going to pay these players, you know? Because I'm sure like the local country's fans, the city's fans, they don't want foreign investments because they want the club to stay local. But like, if you guys don't buy enough shit to support the club, I mean, what do you expect it to do?
I hope Saudi delegates watched the Chinese implosion, because I see two main lessons here. You can't force success in football. Building a competitive football ecosystem requires patient development of players, coaches, broadcast relationships, and general fan culture. Despite investing billions, China did not improve its national team, and its domestic league didn't get any better either, despite having loads of great players. In addition, a big reason President Xi made this leap into football was for power and prestige on a global scale. A rebranding exercise, if you will. That, as I mentioned, is eerily similar to what's happening in Saudi Arabia. The U-turn by President Xi and the Chinese state was because a lot of these acquisitions were fueled by debt. A lot of these companies were using leverage to buy these assets, and they were levered up to the gills. Admittedly, there's not that much leverage happening in Saudi. These guys are walking cash pits, but the political and economic winds change all the time. And as you will see from my Saudi series, the macroeconomic conditions in Saudi Arabia aren't that rosy either. What's in favor today might not be in favor tomorrow. And when football is in the mix of those things, too many people are affected. There's no better example of that than Inter Milan. Towards the end of the 2010s, many of the overseas investments by Chinese companies and individuals were starting to be undone. By 2019, the number of Chinese-owned clubs had dwindled to 10. Remember, it was above 20 in 2017.
So they
those
just
that remain
disbanded or like
No, I think they sold it to somebody else.
who would buy it if they're not making money?
I don't know.
often faced financial strain, and they were probably still there because they just couldn't get out. Inter Milan were arguably the jewel of the Chinese investment spree. They won the Scudetto around this time too, and were owned by Sunning Holdings. They were fronted by a chap called Stephen Zhang. But Sunning Holdings is a name I've mentioned a few times in this story so far. Remember, they were the ones that were getting slagged off in the Chinese press not too long before. Due to the reversal in capital controls by President Xi, Stephen Zhang couldn't capitalize the club. He needed a loan to secure Inter Milan's financial future. He was searching for funding, and a private equity company from America called Oaktree sensed an opportunity. They said, Stephen, we're going to lend you the money, but there's going to be three conditions. One, we're going to take 31% of the club. Two, the interest rate is going to be high, 12%. Three, if you don't pay us back by May of 2024, you've got 3 years, we're going to take control of the club. Stephen was desperate at the time, but he said, sure, I'll take the money and I'll sign these conditions. I'll be fine. The Super League is coming. Oh my word. That deal fell apart. Stephen Zhang couldn't pay, and Oaktree took control of Inter Milan. Yes, at the time of recording this video, Oaktree Capital owned Inter Milan. Stephen Zhang lost his assets. It's insane, and what's crazier is something very similar happened across the road at AC Milan with Redbird Capital just a year before that too. Back home, President Xi...
But AC Milan, $1.2 billion. That's what it said it's worth. That's a solid club.
Xi's U-turn did not help the domestic league either. The most shocking case was Jiangsu FC.
About the value, is it based on what?
IP, books, everything. Like, well, okay,
What
I
is
guess
IP?
intellectual property. You
Mm.
know, the name, just like the brand name.
Oh.
Well, when we talk values, I guess how much was it sold for? That's why, like, you know, when I say NBA teams, they're sold for like 5, 6, 7 billions. They're sold for that amount, so that's what it's for, because that's how much somebody's willing to pay to get one. Because the clubs are limited. Like that's why I'm saying IP, because these, you know, big name clubs, they are limited and not everybody's selling. Like it's a very rare opportunity to buy, like to find a top tier league club to buy. Like, yeah, lower levels, yeah, you can buy those, yeah, but you want the top tier, so it's very rare opportunity. So
The ones who usually selling, is it like maybe they're over it or is not making money?
not making money, maybe they, you know, they lost passion, maybe they need cash for something else, you know, they have a better investment, so they need cash, you know, because they need liquidity, or the person died and estate just don't have interest in running it, because a lot of these folks, you know, they've old as fuck too.
Because I heard, I've seen you watching for how the deal went down for the Lakers, buying the Lakers team,
Yes.
and the switch of who was ownership, and
Yeah.
then the decision that, they didn't want the son, they want the daughter to own it.
That's the father owned it, he died, and then who gets the control? So first it was the son, but the son kind of flopped, so then the daughter came in. Yeah. But that is still within the family, though. It's still owned by the same family.
Okay.
Yeah, the Bus family. Yeah.
So this for football, it's not just I see it's not just one person. It's like many investors are in.
Yeah.
Wow. So you can't have 100%.
Yeah, you can, but you have to buy everyone out.
Wow.
Like, for example, it seems like AC Milan, they said it's owned 100% by the Redbird Capital. Same with Inter, and I think Inter is owned 100% by Oakwood. So you can be 100%, but oftentimes there's minority. It's like any other corporation.
Yeah.
You know, there's shareholders who hold, like, one is owned 52%.
Especially if it's an old club.
Yeah, because, you know, somebody died, gave it
Yeah.
equal shares to their children. One of the child is like, I don't want to do this shit, sold this share.
Oh.
You know, and that's how it happens.
Wow.
owned by Sunning Holdings. Again, that stunning name just keeps coming up. In the 2010s, the winners of the Chinese Super League looked like this. In November of 2020, Jiangsu FC won the championship, beating the mighty Guangzhou Evergrande and winning their first ever title. 3 months later, in February 2021, the club ceased operations. Can you believe that? The club just won the league and then folded 3 months later because the Sunning Group decided to stop all non-core business activity. Jiangsu's players were left stranded. The city lost its club overnight. It underlined a dramatic U-turn. Not even winning the league could save the club when the owners can't fund the organization. The mighty Guangzhou Evergrande of the 2010s had a rough spot too. Their parent company, the Evergrande Group, went through a massive debt crisis in the late 2010s and it severely impacted the football team. Expensive players were released, salaries were slashed, and in 2022, they got relegated to the second division of Chinese football. Yes, these guys relegated. Honestly, researching some of this stuff was harrowing to read. The impact of the U-turn.
I wonder if
Insane.
they have
Of course.
opportunities to take a pay cut.
How much of a pay cut are you willing to take? They probably did, but the amounts that we even cut like tenfold or so.
The ultimate goal of all of this was to make China's national team a success. In the midst of all of this, I didn't mention, they appointed some pretty successful managers, Marcelo Lippi and Fabio Cannavaro, to try and rebuild the national pride of China. The 2018 World Cup, China failed to qualify. The 2022 World Cup, China failed to qualify. And I'm recording this video in early May 2025. China's FIFA rankings right now, 94th. I'm telling you, there are eerie similarities to what's happening in China to what's happening in Saudi Arabia. I'm making a series on it, so put your name on the
That
wait.
cannot be a coincidence.
That's
That
interesting.
cannot be a coincidence. It's sabotage. That looked like sabotage to me.
By who?
You'll see who's doing it.
Who, China? Xi Jinping?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
And in Saudi Arabia too. Both of them.
Oh. But it's interesting to me how China, such a huge country in terms of population, but they cannot field a good 11 people team to like at least be competitive of international field. That's, I don't know, that's so interesting that
Maybe the players want to play for somewhere else. I don't know.
no, right, but they cannot feel it to play for national team in the World Cup. Like, you know, there's one thing like Lithuania suck, but okay, Lithuania has 2 million people. Like, how, you know, to pick 11 out of 2 million, it's different than pick 11 out of 1 billion.
You know how I take it
Mm.
is if this is like something you do for fun and you want to get paid and doing and enjoying it as a passion, I would play for a club where I'm gonna have fun and make money. Whereas it seemed like playing for them is
I think all these athletes in any of the sports, they're highly competitive. So you start doing it for fun, but then it becomes about ego. Oh, I want to win. I want to win the cup because I want to be the best. So you go to a better team, better league, and you keep trying to go to the top. I think it's just people are competitive like that. If you're non-competitive, if you just I'm just chilling.
I don't know. Some coaches, I don't want to work under this coach. To pick someone else.
That's what it takes sometimes.
And they don't have a history of winning, so why would I go there?
I don't know.
Okay. Can I see his comments?
But he did a good job. Good narrator. I first time reacting to him, but I enjoyed it.
I wonder what's going on with Saudi Arabia now.
Yeah, I'm excited for that series he mentioned he's working on.
Because I think honestly, it's not the main game. I think the main game may be the bets.
Could be.
And then this is just like we're just throwing dice. That's just for fun.
You should do an episode on how your channel has 8 million less subscribers than it feels like it has. Great video. Yeah, this was great video. Again, great video. It's interesting to point out that Chinese car sponsors on the Euros in Germany. It's iconic that Volkswagen is struggling so massively and that during the Euros in their own country, there's an overload of Chinese car ads. Huh. Another contender for random picture folklore is Jay-Z, Jack Oblak, and James Madison. That is. Cool. Yeah, good video. He did a good job.
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.